Coming up on today's show, Hyperloop One raises $85 million in its latest investment round, but needs some more cash. BMW promotes wireless charging as a way of the future, and Jaguar says it's already got 25,000 people who want an iPace electric SUV. These stories and more coming next on 10. Like all our content, today's show is funded by the in-stream ads on today's video and by the kind donations of viewers like you. Follow the link at the end of today's show to make a monthly donation to our Patreon crowdfunding campaign to help keep us independent and impartial. And if you're already donating, thanks for your continued support. It's Friday, September 29th, 2017. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield, and it seems today's show theme is all about the auto industry waking up to electric vehicles. You'll find out why if you keep on watching. We start today's show with the news that Mitsubishi has finally set US pricing for its long-awaited Outlander plug-in hybrid, a best-selling model for the brand elsewhere in the world, but one whose US launch has been delayed more times than I've had hot dinners. Starting at $35,535 before incentives, the Outlander plug-in hybrid becomes the cheapest plug-in SUV that you can buy in the US by more than $28,000. And while it doesn't come with the CHAdeMO capability of its siblings overseas, it still offers around 30 miles of all-electric range before its onboard engine kicks in, although I should note, no EPA range has been officially released yet. Interestingly too, the high-end variant, which is $41,000 comes with a 1.5 kilowatt mains inverter as standard, meaning it could be a great solution for those who want to run their house off their plug-in car in an emergency. I'm sure we're going to get more information as this car hits dealer lots, so stay tuned for more info if you're a potential US customer who's had to wait for 5 whole years for this car to come stateside. Over the past few months, I've covered a steady stream of stories about countries around the world announcing that they will ban the sale of all new internal combustion engine vehicles in the future, with enforcement dates as soon as 2020 or as far out as 2050. Well, now we learn that the US state of California is considering joining that ban list, with the state's Governor Jerry Brown reportedly considering a ban of all internal combustion engine vehicles at some point in the future. The ban itself, if implemented, would be more than a decade away, but with California already in trouble from certain parts of the US government for its existing mandates, I can't see the current administration allowing California to enact such a ban without a very big fight. Watch this space. Staying in policy matters a little longer, there's going to be quite an advertising push on social media coming in the next few weeks from the Coalition for Future Mobility. That's an industry advocacy group that's lobbying the US Congress to move to pass a set of measures that will open the door for self-driving vehicles across the nation. Already passed by the House, the measures being considered by the Senate would make it far easier for automakers to test and build self-driving cars, as well as homologise the rules regarding autonomous vehicle use around the country. To encourage Congress to pass these bills, the coalition is using the power of targeted Facebook ads and other social media ad pushers to encourage members of the public to write to their senator. I guess pasta power works for toy manufacturers and lobbyists alike, eh? Talking of pasta power, you may be subjected to a little if you happen to have a child who watches Sesame Street. At least, that's a possibility thanks to a new ad for the Pacifica hybrid minivan featuring Big Bird and the two-headed monster. Whatever your opinion on an automaker, or any company for that matter, sponsoring children's TV, the ad does try to explain, a little clumsily, that the Pacifica Hybrid is a plug-in vehicle that can use either gasoline or electric, giving the two-headed monster quite a headache trying to figure out where to fuel the car up. It's a cute ad in its own way, and I guess I'll be able to test this all for myself in a few weeks as I'll be reviewing the Pacifica Hybrid minivan here on Transport Evolved. For some time now, whenever an automaker announces its desire to bring a new vehicle to market, EV fans have replied with a call for that automaker to put their money where their corporate mouth is and follow Tesla, investing in gigafactories or vehicle production lines. Well, this week we heard that Daimler is doing just that, announcing a $1 billion investment in its Alabama US production facilities just so that it can make its first Mercedes-Benz EQ-branded electric SUV there in significant volumes, and that includes the battery pack too. In response to the news, Tesla CEO Elon Musk tweeted that $1 billion wasn't really that much for a company of Daimler's size, suggesting that its investment was an order of magnitude off. Daimler then responded with a "you're right," hinting that the firm's investment in EVs is going to get larger and larger. Considering its arrival to Tesla, it just goes to remind us that Musk wants one thing: to get the world onto electric vehicles, regardless of it being a Tesla or not. I can't think of many company CEOs who think that way about the competition. Can you? Hyperloop One, the leader in the race to commercialise Musk's vision of mass transit for the future, has closed its latest funding round with a total of $85 million raised, taking its total investment to date to $245 million. The company, which has grand plans to build Hyperloop systems everywhere from Dubai to Colorado, has to date not really talked about how much it would cost to build its planned network of high-speed Hyperloop tubes through which special Hyperloop capsules will travel faster than the speed of sound, propelled by the wonders of electromagnetism. But this week, the Denver Post put a $24 billion price tag on a 360-mile proposed Hyperloop between Cheyenne, Wyoming and Denver, Colorado, several orders of magnitude more than Hyperloop One is actually worth. Will it happen? Well, I guess time will tell, but that's one very expensive construction project. Another project that's been very expensive to date is Faraday Future's planned $1 billion production facility north of Las Vegas, Nevada. And if you've been watching this show for any length of time, you'll know that Faraday Future's plans have been shrinking for some time, with the company tentatively putting its factory plans on ice earlier this year. Well, this week, we learned that Faraday Future has cut a check to the state of Nevada to repay in full any incentive money it had already taken under a deal inked back in late 2015. And while the company still owns the land in Las Vegas, it's looking less likely that we'll ever see a factory there. Will we see the FF91 in production? Yes, says Faraday Future, but I remain to be convinced. Eager to always push the boundaries of what its cars can do, Tesla is constantly tweaking the hardware and software of its cars, which is why when we heard a rumour late last week that it was working with AMD on a brand new artificial intelligence chip to power the autopilot system in its cars, the rumour certainly seemed plausible. But, says Global Foundries, a spin-off of AMD, those reports are false, and for now, Tesla isn't working with it or AMD on a new chip. Then again, later this week, we also heard another rumour that Tesla is about to switch from Nvidia to Intel as its chip provider for the large center console that dominates the cabin of every car. And while that move has supposedly already happened for Model 3, nobody is actually confirming or denying the rumour or the one before it, meaning that we really just have to go with what we know so far. If we get confirmation, I'll let you know. If you're a Brit, the chances are that you'll know about James Dyson, the British engineer responsible for the now legendary Dyson vacuum cleaners, as well as those hand dryers and fans that are super powerful. And while Dyson has less of a following elsewhere in the world, I'm sure viewers from outside the UK will be just as interested as Brits in the news that Dyson has confirmed it's working on an all-electric new car for launch in 2020. What's perhaps most important here? Well, not so long ago, Dyson acquired solid-state battery startup Skatey for $90 million, and since then it's been rumoured to make some progress on affordable, long-range, durable, solid-state batteries. Simply put, if Dyson can do for electric cars what it did for vacuum cleaners, we could be on the verge of something very big and very important. So don't dismiss the story just yet. Alongside Daimler's commitment from earlier this week to invest $1 billion in its Alabama production facility so that it could produce its EQ electric SUV there, Audi announced on Wednesday that it has plans to heavily invest in electric vehicles too, and it wants to build electric models at various factories around the world. The goal? To slowly switch production from internal combustion engine vehicles to electric ones as demand for EVs ramps up. How fast will it be? Well, in total, Audi says it will launch 20 new electrified models by 2025, including 12 all-new electric models and numerous plug-in hybrid models to boot. With Audi working just as hard as its parent company Volkswagen to rebrand itself following Dieselgate, it's going to be very interesting to see just how quickly this ramp-up in EV production actually happens. From electric now to big rigs, and while this story is about internal combustion big rigs, it still has a place on the show because it's about reducing fuel consumption using autonomous vehicle platooning technology. You see, this week, Daimler got the green light to test vehicle platooning on US roads, allowing groups of trucks fitted with platooning technology to virtually daisy chain to one another in order to save fuel. And if that works, the overall emissions and fuel bill of mass freight by the road could go down, which I think is going to be good news for everyone. The electric car industry may still be arguing over which of the AC or DC charging standards are best for conductive charging of electric vehicles, but this week BMW pushed its marketing campaign for wireless charging up a gear, promoting optional wireless charging capabilities of the BMW 530e high-performance plug-in hybrid, with a very short infomercial on the subject. Promoting wireless charging as more convenient and enjoyable than plugging your car in, the ad is certainly targeting those who've never owned a plug-in car before. But then again, as the majority of BMW 530e high-performance customers will likely be experiencing a plug-in hybrid for the first time, I guess this makes sense. And if it gets more people running on electricity, hey, I'm all for it, even if it just is a little bit convoluted. Over the past few weeks, I've covered the Jaguar iPace electric car several times, from the car's actual promised launch into the race series that's been built specifically around the plug-in SUV. We won't see the iPace for another year or so, but this week, Jaguar's CEO confirmed that the firm has already more than 25,000 orders for its first ever plug-in car. Admittedly, as Green Car Reports notes, these are probably dealer rather than private orders, but it's a good start for the all-electric SUV. And finally, after 5 years of production, Tesla has finally ended production of rear-wheel drive only Model S's, shifting Model S production to all-wheel drive configuration moving forwards, as well as removing the previous entry-level Model S from the lineup and thus making a base Model S just a little more expensive. Tesla's switch means that those wanting a slightly larger frunk in their Model S or just rear-wheel drive will have to look at the used Model S market or at any of the cars still in inventory on Tesla's website. Still, it does make sense to end rear-wheel drive production, as most customers did want all-wheel drive, and hopefully this will reduce manufacturing costs at Tesla's factory and thus cost less for you in the long run. So don't get too frustrated, eh? And with that plea, it's time for me to say goodbye for the week. As always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on a single episode. And if you like what I'm doing, why not contribute to the show's costs via Patreon? I've left a link at the end of this video and in the description below. As usual, I'll be back next week with more Transport Evolved goodness, so until then, thanks for joining me. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield, this was 10. Have a great weekend, and until next time, keep evolving!